Afternoon. How we doing? I have absolutely nothing to talk about except like things that I've watched recently, and I don't know. Your comments are going to have to kind of guide me in the direction of where I'm supposed to go. But oh man, there's some things that have been going on lately. Sam Hyde did that one stand-up routine. I don't know if you guys ever watched that. He's like really preachy sometimes. I guess let's just talk about like Adult Swim people for now. But like Sam is like really preachy sometimes, and I think it gets like to be a chore just to listen to him. So that's why when you have guys like his buddy Nick Rochefort, and I think Charles is like really weird too, right? Um, but like thanks to the fact that they have Nick, they're like tolerable to listen to. Otherwise, like I probably want to give them the time of day. I guess we can talk about World Peace 2 since we're gonna probably focus on like Adult Swim stuff. World Peace 2 is coming out pretty soon. They're taking forever to edit the thing, which I find odd because, like, I believe, like, from a video production standpoint, like, the majority of the time should be, like, filming and pre production and stuff like that. Like, because once you get to the editing point, like, you should know exactly what the hell you're doing. And clearly, like, they're taking, like, their very sweet time on editing that whole project. So I don't know. It does seem weird to me. I get it, but at the same time, like when you have all your footage and you have everything you need, why wouldn't you just then go through the editing process as fast as you possibly can? And they're clearly not doing that. So I want to maybe just, if there's going to be no comments or anything, I was going to probably talk about like Tim and Eric and like a lot of I got all kinds of different opinions about them because once in a while you see something that Tim did and it's just like I respect that, even though like again we're talking about Sam Hyde, Tim and Eric, we're talking about Adult Swim. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with the backstory with Sam Hyde and Tim and Eric. So apparently Tim and a couple of his friends like Ben Berman, I don't know if that's his name. No, it's not him. Or Vic Berger, a couple other people, they were saying things about Sam Hyde. And I think the main thing about that was Tim, this is my theory, okay? This might be like some conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat kind of talk. But, my whole theory with what happened between Sam Hyde and Tim Heidecker, Tim legitimately felt threatened by Sam Hyde's show, right? Because let's face it, like, I've said this from the beginning because I still am kind of a mark for Tim and Eric, and I still think they're great. But clearly, like, Tim and Eric's content was kind of, what's the word I'm looking for here? It was kind of childish in comparison to, like, some of the stuff that $1 Million Extreme was doing, right? So Tim obviously felt threatened by that. I don't know if I've ever said this on stream or ever said this anywhere else before, but like I legitimately, this is my theory. It could be totally wrong. I'm sure there's all kinds of weird stuff happening behind the scenes with these two shows. But I think Tim was like, wow, this show that they're doing is clearly more adult oriented than ours. Like, I'm sorry, man. Like the Tim and Eric stuff, like that's for stoners. That's for people that are like high on drugs and they're just like, oh, this is funny, right? And so then when you have somebody like Sam Hyde and his buddies come along and make their show, it's clearly something a bit more mature or a bit more adult than their show. And again, this is just my theory. I could be totally dead wrong, but I believe this to be fact. Like they clearly felt threatened by that show, and that's why they had that little drama, where Sam is trying to. Again, Tim Heidecker and Eric Wareheim grew up in Philadelphia. They grew up to be like hipsters in that scene, right? Like they played in a bunch of bands and stuff like that. So when you're playing in bands and you're in a big city, like you're pretty much born to be a freaking hipster, right? So I think that's kind of what's going on with Tim and Eric. But clearly, like. This is my theory that they felt threatened by Sam Hyde and his show. I don't know that to be a fact, but I mean, of course, like if you're at the same network and somebody is like kind of on the rise and is doing better than you, what are you going to do? You're going to try and shut them the fuck down. Like it's just, it's not rocket science here, people. Like this is like your typical kind of high school drama. Speaking of Sam Hyde, like this is a quote from Sam Hyde that I will never forget. But like real life never stops being high school. That high school drama, that high school mindset that you had for 4 years. That's going to be the rest of your life. It's a dichotomy of real life. It's the same thing. So I guess that's where we're starting. Because like I say, once in a while I come across like a Tim Heidecker clip, and I can't help but like laugh or like enjoy it. But at the same time, like this guy's kind of a dirtbag. I mean, at least Sam, even though he's like depressing to listen to, he's like more real. He's like a more real guy. So I guess we're just making a live stream about Sam Hyde, Tim Heidecker, and Eric Wareheim. I guess that's all we're doing here. Unless you guys have something else you want me to talk about, like, come on. There's people in the comments, like, let's go. So, no, seriously. What else have I been doing lately? Not much, man. We got all kinds of shit going on, but that's my live stream about Sam Hyde, Tim Heidecker, Eric Wareheim, Nick Rochefort, Charles Carroll. Charles is weird, man. Like I see people that comment like, "Oh yeah, Charles is the funniest one out of the entire $1 Million Extreme crew," and it's like, what? Like what? Are you guys crazy? Like no way. Like no way. He's like the weirdest one. He's probably not the funniest one, but he's the weirdest one. So come on. Is there anything else? Come on, mention some old fucking video or something, and then if not, we're just gonna end the stream. So that's my whole point. Because like I say, I watched, there was somebody in the comment section on this YouTube channel that kept hammering me to watch the On Cinema at the Cinema stuff that Tim was doing. And I have to admit, like, some of that stuff is pretty funny. But I think it's also a representation of, like, some of the other work that they've done where half of that shit fucking sucks and half of that shit is, like, pretty funny, right? Like, there's half of it that you really want to pay attention to, and then there's half of it that you really just want to like forget about entirely, right? So, oh, good for you, Uber. Good for you, man. You're doing better than me, man. It's so. How many times have you quit and then like, gone back to the same old shit again? Because for me, it's like 3. It's like 3 or 4. You think you're going to quit, right? And then something happens like 6 months later and you're back to the same old shit again. That's happened to me like at least 3 times. So there's no point even really talking about it anymore. Like everybody gets it, like life is hard. But seriously, come on, somebody ask me something so I don't have to keep talking about Tim and Eric and Sam Hyde, because I could probably talk about them all fucking day of my life. I don't know. Somebody tell me something. Yeah, exactly. Like you trade one bad habit for another. That's exactly what happens, especially when you get older, man. Because especially with COVID now, I don't know how many of you guys are like in your 30s and dealt with COVID. Like that definitely made things a lot harder, once you hit like your 30s, right? Like, because COVID was already ridiculous enough, and then you have you're turning 30 years old on top of that, and of course you're gonna have like some fucking problems. So Counter-Strike video from back in the day. So that was totally ripped off from a Something Awful article. I don't know how many of you guys remember Rich Kianka. He's the guy who owned Something Awful, and like I had him on Facebook, and so he had a couple kids. He was on different prescription drugs, and he ended up taking his own life. I guess we're gonna go from Counter-Strike to like some really dark kind of shit, right? But like, you have a few of those people in the internet community, in the modding community, who just fucking they have a child or they get married and things go way south and they're like addicted to pills or something like that. Next thing you know, the guy who created Something Awful, the guy who's responsible for that Counter-Strike article that we based that whole video on, he fucking, I don't know how he killed himself, but he obviously killed himself. So again, there was things going on. Apparently his ex-wife was like really fucking with him and shit like that. But like, it's kind of it's a shame. It's a shame that people do that. Like, I've been a depressed person for most of my life, but I have never, ever once entertained the idea of suicide or hurting myself or something like that. So, I mean, again, we're going to go back to the Sam Hyde thing with his stand-up. He did a whole routine about this in his stand-up where it's like, if you're one of these people, like, you got to fucking be your own mentor. Like, you can't expect other fucking people to do it for you if you're dealing with depression, if you're dealing with suicidal thoughts and that sort of thing. Like, you got to be your own fucking support system. You're not going to fucking find anybody else there, who's going to fucking do it for you. You have to do it yourself. So I don't know how we went from Sam Hyde and Tim and Eric to this, but no, seriously, it's a legitimate point. Like, I don't know, you guys got to go back and watch. Sam Hyde did some stand-up routine in Rhode Island. Some weird. Sorry, I'm not familiar with the East Coast, so I don't know where it was. But he did some stand-up routine in like some fucking warehouse that they rented out, and you really should go and watch that, man. Like, again, he's very preachy and he can be very hard to listen to sometimes, but I think the message is still there. I think he's like one of the more real ones. Like, he's one of the guys that you want to listen to. So here we go. We got Cole in the chat. Cole's going to go on a heroin binge, man. Yeah. There's nothing else to do in Texas, right, Cole? So here we go. What else do you want me to talk about? Somebody bring up an old video. Bring up something. Oh, writing process for a TF2 Western. How much of that was planned or changed on the fly? Very little of that was like improvised. So we had the script there, and most of that like went for the majority of the video. But we have like I grew up with Steve. Like, Stev was like my best friend growing up. So we improvised some shit there for that video that's still stuck in the video. But the rest of that stuff was like tightly scripted, and I would just like send people lines, and they can, whatever they choose to record is what I get, right? So when you're making Team Fortress 2 Western, like, I'm not going to sit there and cry that somebody sent me like some stuff that is totally different from what like I wrote for them, right? Like, I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh yeah, nope, sorry, you got to do it exactly like I say, right? Like, I'm not going to do that. So that was a video that was really fun to make. And we had the issues with the guy who created Fistful of Frags. Like, he was mad that we ported his map to Gary's mod, which, I mean, go fuck yourself, man. Like, we're still promoting your mod at the end of the day. Like, for that Fistful of Frags mod, man, like, man, I don't want to get off on like a different subject or anything, but like, when you're dealing with like people like with that Fistful of Frags mod, like the mod owner was a guy from Spain. The guy who created the mod was from Spain. He was kind of difficult to work with, but like, he would complain that we like took liberties to make a couple of these videos, but at the same time, like, we're giving you free promotion for your mods. So what the hell are you complaining about? So about the writing process, like, there were some very off-color jokes, and because I didn't really have like too many people to like check that stuff, like, they just probably like stayed in the video. Like, we got Wolfer acting like a black guy. We got all kinds of like, yeah, he's Juan Wayne, and then we got we got Holocaust jokes in there. Like, I mean, I don't. And then there's that whole part of the end where we break the third wall and kind of like do this own weird thing. Like, that's just pure improvisation. It's like, well, this is funny, let's throw it in the video, right? Like, it doesn't really, it's not like some crazy science here. Like, if you have something that's funny enough to be in a video, like, you better include it. Like, you're not going to be stupid and be like, oh no, I'm just going to hold on this clip because maybe it's not appropriate, or maybe it's not going to fit in. No, if it's funny, like, you got to put that in the video. It's not any more complicated than that, especially when you're making like stupid little comedy videos. I don't really know where to go from here. I've seen some videos by some like old machinima types. Like, we're talking like people that aren't really like associated with the website, but like are like school types, and they'll make videos about like videos from 10, 15 years ago. And you'll notice that they conveniently like ignore Red versus Blue, or they conveniently ignore like other major content creators at that time in favor of like some no-name guy who appeared out of nowhere and made like this one artistic, artsy kind of video. Like, they kind of focus on him instead of the people that actually got views which I think is crazy to me. I have no disrespect for like those old school people. I maybe have like a couple of complaints, but like it's so weird that they totally focus on like the artsy video that was entered into some like contest, and then all these other videos that got like hundreds of thousands of views, they're just like, whatever, which seems backwards to me, right? What happened to Crackbone? I have no idea. I just got a message the other day about Crackbone. Apparently, he called up one of our old buddies, and they had a voice chat on Steam for like 5 hours about nothing, which I guess some things never change. You know, how much to shave the beard? I don't know. I'm trying to do the ZZ Top thing. I don't know. You can trim it for me, but yeah, no. That's what I've heard about Crackbone. Like he's never really changed. He's clearly somebody that just wants to talk about fucking whatever the fuck for 5 hours. He doesn't care if it's 1 people, 5 people, 10 people. He always wants to have some kind of audience. I guess we're all kind of the same way, right? Like everybody wants to have an audience, but like he just wants like an audience of 10 people where he can ramble on and talk about the same old fucking shit over and over again, which again, I'm the same way. Everybody else is kind of the same way. Like, you know, you want to talk about what you think you know, but at the same time, man, like I don't want to sit here for 5 hours and listen to you talk about this shit, Crackbone. Like I'm sorry, like I got other things to do. I got other things I want to talk about, other things I'm interested in. Like I don't want to sit here and talk about economics for goddamn 4 hours, right? So that's his problem, and it's always been his problem. And I mean, that's what makes him so great, right? Like that's what makes him so magical. So I don't know. I want to do the same thing about like movies and fucking internet shit, and you know, fucking I don't know, shit like that. Like you know, everybody's kind of the same way. You want to find your audience, and then you just want to fucking ramble at them for fucking forever. So I don't know. Because like I say, yeah, I'm the same way. I like to talk about movies. I like to talk about videos. I like to talk about the internet. You know, I like to talk about all that kind of shit. So whatever is your forte, like I get it. Yeah, no, he was definitely strange and hilarious both. I mean, God, fucking let him loose on a server and it's fucking immediate content. It's immediate content. The second you let him loose in some kind of fucking game server that's for a source mod, you know? Somebody says something about a guy with Asperger's. Oh my God. I can tell you a couple guys that we experienced with Asperger's, but no comment there. One time, so apparently we had this guy with Asperger's that was a part of our Ventrilo server at the time, was a part of our voice server at the time. And one time, like, we got mad at him for, like, interrupting, like, filming of something. I want to say, like, we were recording some fucking video, and he comes in the challenge and starts fucking talking about his fucking Asperger's fucking bullshit. So I think at the time, like, he's, you know, I was 18 years old, I yelled at him. And he then, 10 minutes later, goes on our forum at the time and posts this super long apology about how, well, I didn't realize what was going on because it was dark outside. This is a guy that was like a voice in like a few of our videos. So like, you know, oh no, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I didn't realize what was going on. It was dark outside. And this is a guy who had like kind of like mild autism or whatever the fuck you call it these days. What the fuck is the word for it now? Autism? Yeah, it's not. Asperger's is no longer a thing. You gotta say autism now. And you have to explain the severity of the autism. Is it mild autism? Is it severe? I don't know. Fuck that bullshit. I don't even fucking care. Tim and Eric, yeah. Anyways, somebody mentioned the Tim and Eric $1 billion movie. I don't know, man. I don't know how did they get the money for that? Like, clearly, here's my theory about Tim and Eric. Like, somebody clearly had their tongue up somebody's asshole for Tim and Eric to have all those people that they had. Like, you know, they knew so many different celebrities. Like, go through their whole body of work and look at all the different celebrities that like made some like shitty appearance on their show. So clearly, like, Tim and Eric were like connected. And I know I heard a story on some fucking shit that I watched the other day where Tim clearly had like very rich parents. He had parents that were not like, you know, people that weren't making no money at all. Like they clearly had enough money to afford like expensive vacations. That's how I kind of can tell. Like they're not exactly the poorest people in the world. So I don't know. Like I say, I said this in the other video. Like it was fun to kind of see that stuff on TV at that time, but now like he would totally like flop dead in the water, you know. So any other questions before I go? Because we pretty much spent 20 minutes talking about nothing. So any other last questions before I leave? This is it. Sam Hyde knows his audience. Maybe. I think to push back, I'm not trying to play devil's advocate or anything. I think he doesn't care who his audience is. I don't think he really cares. Like, as long as he has an audience, he doesn't care who his audience is. So, anyways, I don't know what anybody's up to. I don't really talk to anybody anymore. It was nice of them to kind of show up on one of the previous live streams that I did, but I don't really talk to anybody anymore. Somebody told me to shave the beard. Maybe I'll come back next time with a clean-shaven face, like a baby face. I don't know. There's really nothing for me to talk about, so I will. I'm not going to talk about Black G-Man, BW Dalek 5. Hey, he's my newfound super fan, so go to his channel. Hey, thank you for uploading that Fortress Forever source mod, Todd, by the way. Like, I watched that again, like, a couple months ago, and I'm still, like, stuff that I did 15 years ago, I'm still, like, laughing my ass off, especially, like, the stuff like Boris did, the stuff like HK did, the stuff like Wolfer did. Like, I literally, like, as long as I, like, go, like, a long time without watching it, and I watch it again, I will still laugh my ass off at watching some of that shit, you know? Like, it's still funny to me, you know? I mean, I used to get, like, a lot of, like, shit about those old videos being like, well, this is kind of like humor for 12-year-olds. This is kind of humor for fucking idiots. But, like, that was the whole point of those videos. That is exactly what we were going for. Like, the kind of stupid shit that you hear on, like, Xbox Live lobbies, you know, like the fucking most stupid shit that you hear in voice chat. Like, we were trying to do that. Like, that's exactly the angle that we were going for. And so for people to, like, misunderstand that, it's just like, you're out of your fucking element. Like, you're a fucking idiot. Like, of course we were trying, like, you know, it's retard humor. I hate to say it. I hate to use those two words, but it's retard humor. It's that way for a purpose. And, you know, that's what we were trying to do back then. And I still think it's funny. Like, I get so many comments on G-Man Squad 1 that's like, oh, you know, people like say like this is like inappropriate in this day and age, but like I still think it's funny to this day. Like, those are the people that I was going for even back then. Like, I'm trying to find people that appreciate the fact that, like, it's clearly like way out of control, and like that's the whole point, you know. So anyways, that's the whole point of the old videos. I mean, you're trying to be as fucking stupid as possible, right? Because sometimes that's funny. So any current Gmod Machinima channels that I follow, just Rat Lobber and Richter Overtime. That's about it. And Ethan is going to be making me dinner right now, so he's going to be making me a big pot of spaghetti, and it's going to be all for me. It's not going to be for him. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, you don't really sit there and decide like what's funny and what's not. You just kind of you go by an instinct, right? Like, and it's the same thing for today, but you have to like be more careful, like not to cross the line. Otherwise, you're going to have this whole army of people coming at you, fucking complaining about it. So, hey, it's nice to see all the UK people here. I've always loved the UK people. You guys, I have more fans from the UK than I do from Canada, which is crazy to me. Like, you would think, because I live right next to Canada, and apparently England likes me more, which I'll take. You know, I've been wanting to visit the England someday. I want to visit the UK, absolutely. Like, that again, because they all speak English. That's for one. And two, it's further away from this fucking shitty continent. So, I mean, come on. I hope you're not one of these Canadians watching that's like, oh, yeah, Canada's better than the U.S. And it's like, really? Take a look at your fucking country, because your fucking country sucks. Just not even just as bad as ours, but worse. So, anyways, we'll see you, UK. Have a good night.